A 2023 survey revealed something fascinating. Nearly 60% of American households own stocks, not directly, but through retirement accounts, pensions, or index funds. Millions of families rely on these investments for their future without ever thinking about who's actually managing that money. And if you trace the path of those dollars, time and time again, one name keeps surfacing: BlackRock. This is the story of how a man's failure on Wall Street turned into the foundation of the world's largest asset manager. A company controlling more than $10 trillion. A company whose quiet power reaches into nearly every corner of the American economy. Our story begins in the mid-1980s with a man named Larry Fink. Larry Fink wasn't born into Wall Street. He grew up in Van Nuys, California, the son of a shoe store owner and an English professor. A middle-class kid who worked hard enough to earn a place at UCLA. He studied political science, then finance, eventually making his way to New York City. At just 31 years old, Fink was one of Wall Street's rising stars at First Boston, a major investment bank. He was running the mortgage-backed securities desk, generating billions for the firm. But then, disaster struck. In 1986, a miscalculation led to a staggering $100 million loss. It wasn't just a bad day, it was a career-defining catastrophe. Fink's reputation was shattered. In an industry where mistakes aren't forgiven, it seemed like the end of the road. Yet, instead of walking away, Fink became obsessed with one idea: risk. If he could build a system that measured and managed risk more effectively than anyone else, maybe no one would have to repeat his mistake. That obsession planted the seed for what would become BlackRock. In 1988, Larry Fink and a small team of partners set up shop under the umbrella of the Blackstone Group. Their idea was radical for the time: combine asset management with advanced risk analysis. Instead of just chasing returns, they would build models to predict dangers before they hit. That small experiment quickly grew. Within a few years, the division spun off into its own company, carrying the name BlackRock. The mission was clear: to manage money with an iron grip on risk. What made BlackRock different wasn't just its cautious style, it was its technology. Behind the scenes, they built a powerful system called Aladdin, short for Asset, Liability, Debt, and Derivative Investment Network. Aladdin wasn't just software, it was a revolution. It could simulate thousands of scenarios, stress test portfolios, and spot vulnerabilities before anyone else. Over time, not just BlackRock but banks, pension funds, and even government agencies began relying on Aladdin to guide their decisions. Today, Aladdin oversees the risks of portfolios totaling over $20 trillion. Think about that. One company's system quietly watching over more money than the GDP of most countries combined. BlackRock's true explosion came in 2009, when it acquired Barclays Global Investors and its ETF arm, iShares. That move changed everything. Suddenly, BlackRock wasn't just managing money for governments and big institutions. Now it was managing the savings of everyday Americans. Teachers in Ohio, nurses in Florida, tech workers in California. Through index funds and ETFs, millions of people became tied to BlackRock's massive machine, often without even realizing it. From there, the numbers skyrocketed. By 2025, BlackRock managed over $10 trillion in assets, making it the largest asset manager in the world. Here's where things get truly fascinating. BlackRock doesn't just manage money. It quietly owns pieces of almost every major American company. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, ExxonMobil, Coca-Cola. BlackRock holds shares in them all. Through proxy voting, the firm has a say in crucial decisions: CEO pay packages, climate policies, mergers, and board elections. A single vote from BlackRock can tilt the balance. To put it into perspective, imagine every time a Fortune 500 company makes a decision, there's a silent figure in the room, shaping outcomes without most of us even knowing. That's BlackRock. The financial crisis of 2008 was a turning point. As banks collapsed and markets froze, the US government turned to BlackRock to help manage toxic assets. They weren't the ones who caused the crash, but they became the ones trusted to clean it up. Since then, whenever a crisis hits, from Europe's debt struggles to the COVID-19 pandemic, BlackRock has been called in to advise governments. For some, that's reassuring. For others, it raises a troubling question. Should a private company with no public accountability wield that kind of power over taxpayer money? With immense power comes immense scrutiny. Critics warn that BlackRock has grown too big to fail. If it ever stumbled, the ripple effects could destabilize global markets. Others accuse it of fueling inequality. In several U.S. cities, BlackRock has invested heavily in real estate, sparking fears that Wall Street is competing with families for homes. For young Americans struggling to buy their first house, it feels like the odds are stacked against them. And then there's the climate debate. Larry Fink's annual letters often call for corporations to take environmental risks seriously. But skeptics point out that BlackRock still holds billions in fossil fuel investments. The question lingers: is this leadership or lip service? You might be wondering, what does all of this mean for the average American? The answer is simple. If you have a 401k, a pension, or an index fund, BlackRock is likely managing part of your future. When BlackRock pushes companies to change policies, or when it reallocates billions across industries, the effects ripple into your retirement, your job market, even the cost of your home. The truth is, BlackRock isn't just another Wall Street firm. It's an unseen force shaping the financial lives of millions. From a humiliating $100 million loss to a company holding trillions, the story of BlackRock is more than just finance. It's about power, influence, and the invisible hand guiding much of the global economy. Whether you see it as a stabilizer or a looming risk, one thing is certain: understanding BlackRock means understanding the world we live in today.